Okay, guys, in addition to peer review today, we're gonna do a little reading talk on fact and opinion. Guys, this one is so important, all right? We've talked about kind of the reading basics. We've talked about being an active reader, but this one, especially nowadays, cuts so close to home. With so much information on the internet, with so much talk about fake news, being a reader isn't just reading words and digesting them, it's thinking about them, it's wrestling with them, and with so much information out there and so many people challenging what information is valid and what information isn't, in order to be a really effective reader, you have to stop and ask yourself, is this a fact? Is this opinion? Do I believe this? Where does this come from? Okay, so if you've been inclined in the past to kind of space out during some of these lectures, please pay attention to this one and take care to be an active, thoughtful, critical thinker when you're reading, because there's a lot of discussion and debate today about what is fact, what is opinion, what is real, what is true, what is not. And 101, you spend a lot of time analyzing texts and figuring out the difference between the two of these. Okay, so I just want to go over the definitions of these so that we're all on the same page. All right, a fact is a detail that can be proven based on objective evidence. Okay, you're going to see this word a lot today: objective and subjective. Okay, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to define those. If something is subjective, think about the subject. Right, it's personal. It comes from a personal frame of reference. All right, if something's objective, think of the word object, right? It's not personal, right? It can be validated from things outside of the person, okay? So we'll go into more of those as we go on, because these two ideas, something that's objective or something that's subjective, is going to be very important, okay? All right, so we all have used this term. We all know what opinions are, but just again, to have the definition, is a feeling, a judgment, a belief or conclusion that cannot be proven true by objective evidence, okay? Facts supposedly are things that we can all agree upon. We can measure these. We can say that, yes, this is true, okay? Opinions are going to differ from person to person, okay? Even a widespread opinion is still an opinion. All right, so just because many people hold it doesn't necessarily make it true. All right, if it can't be validated, if it can't be measured, we can't call it an opinion, or we can't call it a fact, rather. Okay, so if we're looking for objective proof, okay, there's that word again. We're looking for physical evidence, eyewitness accounts, okay, accepted scientific method, okay. Even this gets a little dangerous in today's world, because people are trying to refute science, trying to call or cast doubt upon scientific method and science. But if things can be validated, if things can be measured, then we can call this proof. And we need as a society to be able to agree upon certain things. We need ways to measure certain things so that we can use those judgments as a way forward, okay? In a society right now where we're questioning everything, and even objective proof, then things get very, very complex. I'm just taking a pause here to install my computer. Okay. All right. So as a reader, you're going to be presented with lots of facts and lots of opinions, sometimes within the same sentence. All right, so we have to kind of know how to identify when that's happening and weed it out. Okay, all right. So a fact: spinach is a source of iron. Okay, we can measure that. I don't know how, but I know that scientists can measure what foods have a lot of iron in it and what don't. Okay, spinach tastes awful. Okay, a lot of people might agree with this, but a lot of people might not. All right, so you can't measure awful. There's no way to kind of give something an awful test. All right. So, all right, it's objective, right? It's a source of iron. We can measure that. It states reality, okay? I can verify that somehow. There's no unbiased words. We're going to talk about those in a minute, okay? This is where the subjective and the objective comes in, okay? If you're using a lot of biased words, you're showing the subject, like what I think about something, okay? All right, so it's awful. I think it tastes awful, okay? It interprets reality. I can't measure that, okay? And it's a value word, awful, okay? All right. So here's some questions you want to ask, okay? Can the statement be proved or demonstrated? Can it be observed in practice? Okay. Are there manuscripts, witnesses, documents? Are there things that we can go to validate what we're saying? We're going to get into research with the next essay, and this is where this comes in, right? You want to establish as an author that you are not being objective, all right? That you're not just stating your opinion. You're making an argument. Other people might disagree with you, but we're going to use objective facts. We're going to use things that we can build a case on so that it doesn't seem objective, or so that it doesn't, so that it doesn't seem subjective, so that your argument is being validated by facts. Okay? All right, so I'll give you a second. Yeah, good. The camera's not revealing the answer. All right, so we have two statements here. You guys are critical test takers enough to know that probably one's going to be a fact and probably one's going to be an opinion, right? Always use the test to pass the test. All right, so here are the two statements. A spinning class is a group exercise program of about 45 minutes riding on a stationary bike. A spinning class is a form of torture. Okay, so they both start with the same set of words. A spinning class is a, okay? One is a fact, one is an opinion, all right? I'll pause, you think. Okay, here we go. Okay, hopefully you identified that this is a fact and this is an opinion, right? This can be verified. I could go to an exercise place. I could note that there's a group. I could measure that it takes about 45 minutes. I could see that they're on a stationary bike, okay? Maybe, I don't know about that, but, right, torture, right? How can you measure torture, right? How can you measure what a person's getting out of it? Maybe some people like it, maybe some people don't, all right? So that's an opinion. Okay, I said this before, this is important. A sentence can include both facts and opinion, okay? Really skilled authors who are trying to manipulate you are going to do that, all right? So that you buy into their opinions as facts. This is where the insidiousness of this concept comes into play. You may have somebody who presents him or herself as an expert. You may have a person who uses a lot of facts and then blends that with opinion so that you let your guard down, okay? A critical reader is conscious of this and is looking for that, okay? All right, so look for biased words, okay? Emotions, all right? Emotions are objective, all right? Facts are subjective, all right? So look for value judgments, interpretations, all right? As always, I'll put this PowerPoint up on the board, or on the blackboard, rather. But here's some biased words, all right? How do you measure these things? How do you measure how horrible something is, okay? Disgusting, exciting, okay? This one I like as well, all right? Smart, which is interesting. Somebody might say, well, there are tests to measure intelligence. And that's true. We have, IQ tests and standardized tests and whatnot. But as we've talked about, there's different types of intelligences. We looked at that with a reading example that we did one day in class. All right. So just because somebody doesn't perform well in a standardized test doesn't mean that they are smart or not smart, right? By saying somebody's smart, I'm giving my opinion, all right? Even though I'm an educator and it's my job to assess academic performance, I can't assess whether somebody's smart, right? I can assess how well they do on a particular skill, but I consider myself pretty intelligent when it comes to rhetoric. I'd probably do very well on a test. I have a master's degree. I soon will have 30 hours past a master's degree, so I can say that I'm educated, okay? Right now, if you give me probably a Math 045 test, I'd probably fail, okay? Does that mean I'm not smart? You know, there's things that are very hard to measure, okay? So even some words that you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, I could measure that, you know, break it down, think about it. How do you measure somebody's smartness? Okay, all right. In point of fact, computers make life miserable, okay? This is an opinion, right? How do you measure misery, okay? Some people might say like, oh, computers make life great, okay? So some people might disagree to the degree to which this is the case, all right? So we can't measure that. We're going to call that an opinion. Okay. The great grasslands of the West should not have been plowed under for crops, okay? It is a fact that they were plowed under, but whether they should not have been, who can measure that? Who can say that? Okay, some people might agree with that statement. Some people might not. All right, we talked about qualifiers in the last lecture when we were looking at the topic sentences for the division classification essay. And I said that as you get into 101, they're going to be more important. Here's an example. Okay, absolutes are almost. See how I said almost? That's a qualifier. Absolutes are almost always impossible to prove. Okay, so false facts are presented as facts but are actually untrue. All right, so look for those qualifiers. You know, always or never. If you make a statement in a 101 paper saying that something always happens or something never happens, all I have to do is find one case to prove you wrong. Okay. Using cocaine always results in negative health benefits. Okay. If I can find one person, change cocaine to heroin. Right? You know, long-term heroin use always kills a person. Okay. If I can find one person who has been doing heroin for decades and hasn't suffered any ill effects, I've proven you wrong. Okay. Then I'll go to Keith Richards and point out that that guy's been doing drugs longer than all of us have been alive. So, you know, using qualifiers like that backs you into a corner, and it hurts your credibility because all your reader has to do is find one example and then it just destroys the whole thing. Okay. So look at this statement. Exercise is the only sure way to lose weight. Okay. Only is a qualifier that makes this an opinion. Okay. I've lost weight by just cutting back on my calories. Okay, so now I don't believe what the author's saying because I've already found an example that proves him or her wrong. Exercise is a way to lose weight. Okay, that we can measure that. We can provide many examples to show that exercise does help you lose weight. But when you start putting in those qualifiers, you lose your audience. Okay, so be very careful of those. Okay. Every time I look at this slide, I always think to myself, if somebody has to tell you that what they're about to say is true, it's probably not true. All right? So watch out for phrases like in truth, the truth of the matter, or in fact. I don't know, it's almost like a magician trying to distract your attention from somewhere else. If he or she has to tell you that what I'm about to say is true, I'm skeptical. Okay. In truth, the earliest humans lived at the exact same time as the dinosaurs. Well, that's not true, all right? We have fossil evidence that shows that that's not true. So you're not going to persuade me just by, you know, including those two words. Okay. All right. So, a little practice here, all right? Some of these statements may have both in them, okay? You may have a fact, an opinion. You might have fact and opinion blended, all right? Now, again, be active learners. Take responsibility for your education. Don't just wait for me to reveal the answers. As I go through, if you have to pause it, stop, think. Are these facts? Are these opinions? Okay. Alexander the Great was one of the greatest military leaders in the world. Okay, is that a fact? Is that an opinion? Can we measure it? Or is it both? He was born in Pella, Macedonia. Okay, can we measure that? Can we prove that? The exact date of his birth was probably July 20 or 26, 356 BC. Shortly before his 33rd birthday, Alexander the Great died. The cause of his death remains unknown. Okay, so 5 statements. Are they facts? Are they opinions? I'm going to move on. If you have to pause here and look at that, do so. I want you to think about this. Okay, so Alexander the Great was one of the greatest military leaders in world history. Okay, all right, so they're saying fact and opinion. My answer really is opinion, all right? His title and name are factual, big deal, all right? The important thing here is greatest, okay? How do we measure greatest? Okay. He was born in Pella, Macedonia. Okay, yeah, we can prove that. We can look that up. We should be okay there, okay? The exact date of his birth was probably July 20 or 26, 356 BC. Well, how do you know? Okay, what was the exact date? All right, that's something that we could probably verify if we know the exact date. Probably that makes me stop. Okay. Shortly before his 33rd birthday, Alexander the Great died. Okay, we can look that up. We can prove that. All right. The cause of his death remains unknown. Okay, this is a factual statement about something that is not known. We can look up why people have said he has died. Historians can tell us that there's differing opinions on there. So this is a fact about something we don't know. Okay. All right, a couple more slides, and then we are done for the day, except for peer review. Don't get your hopes up. Okay. What becomes really important in 101, especially as you get to start doing internet research, is who are you basing your information upon? All right. For our final essay, I'm removing that from the equation, and I'm making sure that you're using people who are scholars. But as you get into 101 and you start using multiple sources, something you should always be asking yourself is, who is writing this? Why do I believe this person? I always use the analogy of a bar fight. Okay, when you're in a bar fight, you'll hear me say this again next week when we start talking about the next essay. But when you're in a bar fight, the most important thing is you have a friend who watches your back, okay, who stands back to back with you and makes sure you don't get hit over the head with a bottle. When you're a writer and you're bringing in evidence, your source is that person who's guarding your back, all right? So you want to know that you can trust them. So, especially on the internet, research involves not only finding the facts, but then investigating who's giving you those facts, okay, and asking, are they true facts? How do I know this? Who is this person who's bolstering my argument? Okay, all right. So, an informed opinion is developed by gathering and analyzing evidence, all right? This is what you're doing when you're writing an essay, all right? That's why you're doing the research, so that you're defending your beliefs based on, rational evidence gathering and analysis, all right? An expert opinion is developed through much training and extensive knowledge in a given field, okay? Most of you at this point are not experts in any one field, all right? So this is why we need to do research, all right? If you're writing about the best ways to combat the coronavirus, okay, you're creating an informed opinion, all right? You're gathering evidence, you're trying to learn some things. You're going to rely upon expert opinions, people who've gone to medical school, people who study these types of things, okay? So this is where you want to be, and you want to rely upon expert opinions to bolster your claims. Okay, so here's the difference between the two, all right? You can get an informed opinion by shopping around for a car, okay? Maybe you've bought 12 used cars. You've done a lot of research on it, okay? This is what we're going to be doing here, okay? Experts, people who've studied for many years, people who have doctorate degrees, people who spend their time studying and lecturing on economics, right? I can give you an informed opinion on many, many, many things, right? I can really only give you an expert opinion on 2 things, rhetoric and Star Wars, all right? Okay. All right, so here's some places you can get some factual sources. Medical Dictionary, English Handbook, the World Atlas, all right? We'll talk more about sources in our next essay and talk about other places to find, good factual sources, expert opinions, people who you can use to back up your claims. Okay? All right, so this is just a review of some of the terms that we've talked about in this thing. Again, this will be up on our Blackboard page. I invite you to go back and read through this a couple times, all right? So much of what we talk about today is going to be important in 101, 102, the reading that you do for all of your classes, and the rest of your lives, okay? The idea of objective facts and science are under attack these days, all right? People are trying to blur the line between fact and opinion, and take facts and try to present them as opinions. This is damaging to our society. If we can't agree upon objective facts, then discourse becomes pointless. If everything becomes subjective, then we're in a dangerous, dangerous place. Okay, we need to be able to agree upon objective facts to reach consensus about anything. Okay, just more review. Okay, and again, this will all be up online. All right. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's mini lesson. All right, what's important now is the essay. Okay, I should have communicated with every one of you if you emailed me like I asked you to do last class about your topic. Peer review is today, and the essay is due next class. I know that we haven't had a lot of time to work on this essay, and I know this one's difficult. All right, so with this peer review, I need you to please be critical of people's essays. All right, break the model, challenge what you're seeing, ask questions like, what about this? Where does this belong? All right, I will be looking at people's rough drafts. I'll be looking at the feedback they get back, and I'll be looking at the final draft to see how things changed. I expect to see a lot of change between now and when the paper's due. Okay. Again, I'm recording this in advance, so I don't know how the last peer review went, but I hope it went very well. We're going to do the same thing. All right, I'm setting up a discussion board. I'm breaking you into groups. There'll be different groups. Yeah, I think I'll do different groups this time. Okay, give you a chance to interact with different people. I'm second guessing that. All right, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to leave the same groups. And the reason is you guys have already done this once before. You guys should have each other's email addresses and developed a system. So strike that. I'm gonna just set up a new discussion board for the next peer review with the same groups. Everyone is required to read 3 people's essays. Everyone is required to have 3 people read your essay. Just like with the last essay, I hope it worked. Everyone will email me a rough draft, the 3 peer review sheets, and the final draft. Okay, and hopefully we've gotten all the kinks and bugs worked out with the last time we did this. If that's not the case, I'll post like some message or something on this week's folder, and we'll readjust from there. So interact with your peers, okay? Be critical. It looks like we probably are never going to see these people face to face ever again. So you're doing them only a favor by being critical and telling them what they need to do to fix their essay. Next class, the 4th paper is due, all right? So you're going to give me the final copy, the 3 peer review sheets, and 1 rough draft. You're always free to email me between now and then. I can give you as much feedback as you need, and we'll get this one done, and then we will wrap up the last essay. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. I will talk to you later. Bye.